Donald Trump has warned Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey is playing with fire after Frey said Minneapolis will not enforce federal immigration laws. The warning lands as federal enforcement in Minnesota faces escalating scrutiny following two fatal shootings in Minneapolis this month, including the death of ICU nurse Alex Pretti. According to ABC News, Trump made the playing with fire warning in a social media post, reacting to Frey's position on enforcement. This is now a major political story because it follows direct contact between Trump and Minnesota's top Democratic leaders, and it comes during an ongoing federal enforcement push in the state. To understand how this escalated, here is the sequence. January 7th, Minneapolis resident Renee Good, a 37-year-old mother, was fatally shot during an ICE operation in Minneapolis, according to ABC News live updates and other major reporting. The shooting immediately triggered protests, political backlash, and demands for transparency. January 15th, ABC News reported tensions intensified in Minnesota, with Trump publicly threatening the use of the Insurrection Act amid unrest connected to the enforcement operation and the shootings. That is the environment in which Minnesota's relationship with federal enforcement became sharply strained. January 24th, ICU nurse Alex Pretti, 37, was shot and killed in Minneapolis during a federal operation, according to ABC News and AP reporting carried by ABC. ABC News later published a minute-by-minute timeline using multiple verified videos. In that reporting, ABC says videos show Pretti appeared to be recording with his phone and that he was shoved, pepper sprayed, pulled into the street, and pinned during a struggle. ABC also reports a forensic audio analysis found 10 shots were fired in less than 5 seconds. After the shooting, federal officials and local critics disputed key details publicly, and the pressure for a full investigation intensified. In the immediate aftermath, top officials made aggressive claims about Pretti. ABC News reported that Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and Deputy White House Chief of Staff Stephen Miller accused Pretti of domestic terrorism without presenting evidence for that characterization. ABC News also reported the White House press secretary said she had not heard Trump characterize Pretti that way and that the president wanted facts to drive the investigation. At the same time, ABC News reported the shooting is being investigated by Homeland Security Investigations and the FBI, and that CBP is also conducting an internal review. ABC News reports Trump decided to dispatch Tom Homan to Minnesota to lead the operation, describing it as bypassing the normal chain of command, with Homan reporting directly to Trump. Then, in an exclusive ABC News interview published January 28th, Trump said operations would continue, but previewed what he called a more relaxed and de-escalated approach under Homan. ABC reports this is tied to Operation Metro Surge, which has brought thousands of federal agents into Minneapolis as part of a broader enforcement effort. ABC News reports Minnesota Governor Tim Walz spoke with Trump and described the call as productive. Walz said he told Trump Minnesota needs impartial investigations into the shootings involving federal agents, and that Minnesota needs a reduction in the number of federal agents in the state. ABC reports Walz said Trump agreed to look into reducing the number of agents. ABC also reports Mayor Jacob Frey spoke with Trump and afterwards made a clear public statement. Minneapolis will cooperate with state and federal law enforcement on real criminal investigations, but will not participate in what Frey described as unconstitutional arrests or enforce federal immigration law. ABC reports Homan then met separately with both Walz and Frey said he told Homan the operation has had serious negative impacts on Minneapolis and added strain on local police officers. ABC News reports Minnesota officials filed a legal challenge seeking a temporary halt to the operation. In response, ABC reports a federal judge ordered the administration to address the motives behind the operation and ordered the government to file a supplemental brief by Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. That court timeline is now part of what to watch next.
ABC News live updates reported that 2 federal officers involved in the Pretti shooting were placed on paid administrative leave. described by sources as standard procedure after an officer-involved shooting. ABC reports one was a Border Patrol agent and one was a CBP officer, and that both discharged their weapons. ABC News also reported Attorney General Pam Bondi said she was on the ground in Minneapolis and announced 16 arrests of people charged with assaulting federal law enforcement, while warning more arrests could follow. These updates reflect both the investigative track and a widening enforcement and prosecution track tied to clashes in the streets. Meanwhile, political pressure has expanded beyond Minnesota Democrats. An Associated Press report published by ABC News says a growing number of Republicans are pressing for deeper investigation into federal tactics in Minnesota, including requests for testimony and calls for more information from federal agencies. That matters because it signals the administration's public narrative may face broader scrutiny, not only from critics on the left, but also from within the Republican Party. This brings us back to the headline. ABC News reports Trump said Mayor Frey is playing with fire after Frey said the city will not enforce federal immigration laws. And ABC News reports Frey's position was stated after a phone call with Trump, making this a direct and public dispute between Trump and Minneapolis leadership. This is now the core conflict: federal enforcement pressure, local resistance, and an active series of investigations and court filings. Here is what to watch next, based on current reporting. 1. Further official statements from the Minneapolis Mayor's Office about cooperation boundaries. 2. Any new investigative findings related to the Pretti shooting, including what federal reviews conclude. 3. The court deadline on the government's supplemental filing and what the judge does next. 4. Whether the promised de-escalation changes the on-the-ground posture of federal operations in Minnesota. That is the latest. Thanks for listening.